Guess who spent the last 2 days working on a video for a weapon that got completely reworked while it was rendering? Couldn't be me. Today we're going to be talking about the Shard Diffractor. Personally, I think this weapon was fine before the massive sweeping buffs, but, Reddit cried about it, so here we are. It might get nerfed back down a little bit, which is why we're not going to harp on the numbers too harshly. First, we'll go over the base weapon mods, then take a look at the overclocks in a little more detail, see some gameplay for each of them, and then do a full run of a mission with one of my favorite overclocks. So without further ado, let's head over to the weapons terminal. Alright, like I said, we're not going to harp too much on the numbers, we're just going to go over the general flow of the weapon build. So in the first tier, you have area damage, direct damage, and total ammo. In the second tier, you have weak point damage, area effect radius, and in the third tier, you have magazine size and recharge time, meaning how quickly the inbuilt magazine of the weapon refills. Then in the fourth tier, we have increased heat applied, which is pretty massive. It takes it from 25% to 100%, which is quite significant, and a very significant buff to armor break. And finally, in the last tier, we have a bonus against electrified enemies, what is essentially cold as the grave, which allows the weapon to fire longer whenever you get a kill, and an 80% slow on enemies that you hit. And now for overclocks. After some of the experimental changes, there's only one clean overclock, which gives you a little bit more ammo, essentially one extra magazine, and speeds up the recharge time. The balanced overclocks, in no specific order. First of all, we have an Intensifying Corona, essentially. This is called feedback loop. So the longer you hold the fire button on an enemy, the larger the AoE and effect gets. Then we have Overdrive Booster, which allows you to essentially kick the weapon into overdrive to deal your damage even faster. And finally, probably my favorite of the balanced overclocks, is Volatile Impact Reactor. It's kind of like sticky flames for this weapon. And the unstable overclock is, just outright ridiculous. It allows you to ricochet the laser beam off of platforms to hit multiple enemies. I don't even know, man. Keep in mind that all the numbers you just saw are still subject to change, as it's still an experimental. Now let's go over some highlights from when I was running Volatile Impact Reactor on an industrial sabotage mission. And this poor weapon has had such a turbulent time in the experimental so far. Started out as just a decent weapon that everyone hated because they didn't understand how to use it, and now has been massively overbuffed multiple times, and it's probably just going to get nerfed into the dirt. It's been wild. It's been really wild. But overall, right now as it stands, it's both remarkably fun to use and incredibly strong, so not asking for nerfs myself, just being aware of that. Currently my favorites are either the intensifying AoE effect or the magma making overclock. Both of them still have incredibly good direct damage, so the AoE bonus is just extra gravy. This really is all the weapons and all the damage types that you need all in one. Plus, it's remarkably good against robots, which, since they're the focus of Season 2 as well, is definitely very useful. This will probably be my go-to weapon whenever I'm playing Rival Presence missions, as it deals with normal bugs just about as effectively as it deals with anything else. I think this mission is a great example with the blend of robots and normal enemies coming at me. I'm able to lay down strips of magma to deal with the bugs, while also directly focusing the beam on enemies to light them on fire, particularly the robots. All of this in mind, this is a secondary weapon, so your main workhorse is always going to be your primary. It'll definitely look like I'm running out of ammo incredibly quickly in these clips, but that's just because I'm using my secondary for 90% of the enemies. This weapon is by far the most ammo efficient NG secondary in the game right now, and I would expect that to change in the near future, but if people keep complaining about it not being viable, maybe it won't. I really do feel bad for the other weapons in the experimental phase, as this weapon has been so heavily focused on with really no justification, but overall it's very hard to go wrong with this weapon. Pretty much anything you do with it will excel in whatever field that you build it for, be it direct damage, AoE, sticky flames with the magma, or if you want to ricochet off platforms and just be absolutely insane, you can do that as well. All in all, I think this is my second favorite weapon in the experimental so far, but that said, I haven't spent too much time with a wave cooker and only minimal time with a coil gun, so more to come on those. If you'd like to catch me live, streaming Season 2 a week after it comes out, you can find me over on Twitch. And if you'd like to ask any questions about the laser cannon or any of the other experimental weapons, you can talk to me and my community over on Discord. As always, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.